Welcome to Corrective Consciousness, episode 273, the podcast where we explore the inanity of pop culture. I'm your host, vysethebold, and this is...
Lotus Prince.
And another wonderful show here. We don't have any comedians, thankfully, to pay tribute for this week, thankfully. But we did want to go over some other stuff from the 90s, era, that I think... bears some looking at, especially considering, the era of superheroes that we're kind of in. I was just thinking about it the other day, just like superhero movies are just so prevalent right now. It's kind of like amazing to think that they were a rarity, at one point, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, they tried in the 90s, and a lot of them sucked, so they're like, let's just not... it's kind of like, the 60s and 70s, there was a little more... Not a ton, but there was more swords and sorcery stuff, and, barbarian stuff.
There's no, Conan the Barbarian kind of stuff going on anymore.
There was, one movie released a few years ago, But, even the high fantasy stuff, the 80s just kind of killed that off. Lord of the Rings was a gamble and a half. Who's going to want to watch guys with swords walking around and, it became a blockbuster?
Yeah. It really... And it really hasn't recovered since. Even the Hobbit series is something that wasn't nearly as successful.
That's partly because of, just behind the scenes and what it turned into. It's not we don't like fantasy anymore. It's just that was a beautiful looking but not as passion fueled project.
Not only that, but they also turned it into a trilogy, and it had no business being one.
It's one fucking book.
Not and a simplistic one at that. It's a lovely and charming one, but it doesn't deserve 3 movies. What they ended up trying to do with that is they filled it with a lot of supplemental material from the other works. They had Radagast in there from the beginning of Fellowship, which wasn't they hadn't put that into the Lord of the Rings movie, so they threw that into
and they also added a love
Hobbit.
triangle with a brand new character who didn't even exist in the Hobbit. It's that's good writing.
Yeah, weird. But anyway, I just think that that kind of swords and sorcery thing could probably make a comeback, especially in TV shows at least.
Yeah, it's not that the genre is just bad. It's that there comes a point where we get tired of it, and there comes a point where it's what I haven't seen in a while? Swords and sorcery. Yeah, I mean, there's the Witcher TV series with Henry Cavill. People like that.
Yeah, that is true.
It's also, I mean, it's a book tie-in, not a video game tie-in, but it's a video game tie-in. People haven't read the damn books. They're some of them have been translated, but they're Polish books that no one ever heard of except for Polish people until the video game came out in the West and did gangbusters.
Very, very true. It's just one of those things. But it's like
Metro. Have you read the Russian novel Metro 2033?
No, nobody's done that. But anyway, you are right. But I think it's important to go back to the milestones with superhero movies. We talked about pre-Marvel MCU pre-MCU Marvel before, and that was a fun look at that kind of stuff. But I really want to look back at the big touchstones. A lot of those early Marvel movies were not touchstones until X-Men hit.
Yeah, it was more like Meteor Man. That was the big stuff. Encino Man.
Yeah. Encino Man was not a superhero movie in the
slightest. Sure it has something, man? I don't know, man. I don't know.
But was it the Blank? That was a movie, right?
I completely forgot. Actually, there was... Well, I mean, this is the 90s. This is after what you're going to talk about. But there was the newspaper comic movie, The Phantom.
Yeah.
Where he wears purple and just wasn't it Billy Zane?
Oh, I'm getting it confused with The Shadow. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's another thing. because yeah, the Phantom and Dick Tracy were like newspaper comic serials where like the Phantom just punches a guy,
and the Shadow was a straight up pulp.
Yeah, the Shadow was a radio drama.
Yeah, pulp drama. It was actually in pulps before even radio.
Okay.
So pulp. A lot of people forget about pulp fiction, like the actual pulp fiction.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, fiction that is pulp.
But they were cheapy novels that people, basically like, we basically only have that in romance novel form nowadays. But like romance novels, there were all kinds of like cheap books that focused on like a serialized nature like that. And
speaking of cheap books, hey Vice, why is it called pulp fiction or pulp novels or whatever?
They were produced on pulp paper, the cheapest type of paper at the time. They just churned them out on the worst quality paper just to get them out there.
Yep.
So I mean, even a lot of comics used to be printed on that kind of stuff. I mean,
that stuff was made to be thrown away.
It's basically one notch above newspaper.
It was like this is a weird thing to say if you don't know about it.
Construction
but it's like
paper, almost.
Well, kind of. But no, I was going to say Charles Dickens novels.
Oh yeah,
because they weren't novels at first. I think Charles Dickens may very well have like invented the concept of reselling the same thing to people with like a collector's edition or whatever.
Yeah.
But you used to buy them by the chapter. It was like a sheaf of paper.
Yeah. I mean, this is what people did for entertainment before they had like a lot of like. Yeah,
my parents went to England and they brought one of those back. I have a chapter of a Charles Dickens novel.
Exactly. And sometimes he got paid by the word, so he would just straight up come up with filler. Which is kind of funny, considering that he's one of the classic authors of English literature. He played the game, of doing that, and it was considered trashy at the time. Like a lot of people don't realize that novels were not like high art, and same thing with Shakespeare. Shakespeare was not. It was a low form of art at the time.
And anytime people say that Romeo and Juliet is high art, I'm like, it opens with puns and rape jokes. Who the fuck do you think you are?
No, it was for the masses. It was for street people.
They didn't have movies back then, so they had plays. They were movies. Anyone could go to see them, so they had to cater to anyone. You can't just have half of your audience not get it.
It wasn't highbrow.
You're not going to make money that way.
Back then, highbrow was like paintings and sculptures. And
what was actually this is one I don't know. Was opera highbrow?
Opera did have it. It wasn't. There were different forms
posh
of it.
People went to it, I know. But
there were different forms of it. So you would see like the emperor going to that, but you wouldn't see like a king going to William Shakespeare. Certainly not.
Oh yeah, no, hell no. Yeah.
But you would see on occasion like if you watch Amadeus, that Amadeus is pretty factual, like the movie. And like Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart wrote things for the royal, the emperor of was it Austria at the time? So like
he was from Vienna, I think.
Yeah. So Austria, right?
Yeah.
So he did write, for the upper class, but Shakespeare was not that way. But anyway, we are far off topic.
Comic books. Yeah,
we got to steer this back. But
what our listeners don't know is that we also get paid by the word.
we don't get paid at all. In fact, we lose money constantly. But it's true. But yeah, at the time, there had only been pretty much one prestigious superhero movie, and that was Superman. The one with Christopher Reeve in it.
Yeah, there was like a black and white. I think it was like TV show.
Yeah, but it wasn't prestigious. I'm talking about like highly regarded.
Okay.
There was never anything highly regarded that I can think of.
It had a grand score. It had great effects for the time. I remember that. Like, do you remember the tagline for that movie?
I forget.
It was brilliant. You will believe a man can fly.
Yeah, so like people took that it has its goofy moments, but it like they liked the acting, and like it was told in a semi-serious tone.
Yeah, and this wasn't like 90s Superman where he's fighting space aliens and shit. Like, he flies and, fights bad guys, and Lex Luthor's the bad guy, and it's like what you imagine the comic is if you've never read it in the movie. Like, it's all you need.
Yeah, and it was well produced. I mean, it was directed extremely well by Richard Donner, and so like it was a good movie.
And again,
and scored well.
Scored very well.
Yeah.
But like again, if you watch the movie now and you see the flying scenes, you're like, that's a green screen. But like it looked quite spectacular for the time. Yeah,
it was top notch for the time, and it was romantic too. On top of it, so like,
Christopher Reeves played a legitimately convincing Clark Kent and Superman.
Yeah,
like, he's awkward as hell as Clark Kent. Like, it's great.
He embodied the character. It was hard for anybody else to really embody the character after that.
There's one scene I saw like on YouTube or no on Twitter, I think, where they made a point of like this long single take scene.
Oh yeah, it's amazing.
That just shows the goings on in the Daily Bugle, and like Clark's part of it, and you genuinely don't notice him. Like, you have, like, he's just a guy. Like, he's very easy to miss. Because, like,
the
a lot
focus
of
it
say,
is
like,
Lois Lane.
What? Yeah, well, that's true, too. But he's
Lane.
also there. Like, because, like, I mean, people make fun of, like, all he does is take off his glasses and you can't tell who he is. Is everyone an idiot? But, like, you don't notice him. You'd think Superman, even in civilian clothes, would stand out. But he does not. Like, it's pretty great.
Yeah. And before this, you have to realize that all we had was like the serialized Batman show, like in the movies, like the short serials that weren't good.
Oh, the black and white Batman.
The black and white ones, where Batman had a gun in that too, which is kind of funny.
Well, I mean that checks out. Like old Batman.
Yeah, the first appearance of Batman, I think he had a gun. But yeah, that checks out. But there was also the was it George Reeve Superman?
Well, that's what I was talking about with the old Superman show, the black and white. Yeah, it was like
not related.
I was just gonna say it was like just an incredible coincidence.
Not
there's
related,
no relation because I think it's Christopher Reeves.
Yeah.
So
and
like
George Reeve.
Yeah, like that's incredible, but yeah, sorry, no.
Yeah, and that guy ended up like dying like a really weird, like scandalous death too, like because he was like a hell of an alcoholic.
Oh wow!
But yeah.
The only thing I remember was I think he showed up on like I Love Lucy.
Yeah,
like he cameoed for a bit because it's like we have the real Superman at this children's birthday party.
Yeah, and I think he didn't like playing Superman or something like that because he thought it was goofy. Yeah.
I mean, okay. Yeah, that's like I get it. Plus, like, you got to think, especially with the old Superman costume, you look pretty silly wearing that.
Yeah.
And same goes for old Batman. Like, even Adam West, you look pretty silly.
Yep. But yeah, it was really interesting. But not very good. I mean, you had Adam West Batman after that in the late 60s. 66 is when it started.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean
that show sold color TVs.
I mean that was fun, but it was also like a goofy, campy sitcom-y thing.
Yeah, but like intentionally. And like remember, a lot of people look at that show and they're like, this shouldn't be what Batman is because Batman is serious. But this was before Batman was serious.
Golden Age to early Silver Age Batman. Batman was not serious.
Like old school Batman was serious, but then the comics code came in and they had to really like the Silver Age is a lot of goofy stuff.
Yeah, 50s and 60s Batman was not serious.
Yeah, so the Adam West show, like if you read the Batman comics, like Adam West's show like was pretty on point, and it was clearly like winking at the audience the entire time. Like after you read or after you watch what we're finally going to talk about, like the Tim Burton Batman movie, when you go back to the Adam West show, like you must be kidding. But that was actually pretty par for the course, like at the time.
Yeah, if you want to see like pre that era like serious Batman, there's a really good collection of like the Joker stories out there. Like it's just called The Joker, and it has like iconic Joker stories in there, including the first appearance of the Joker.
Which is pretty funny, by the way, because the Joker turned out to be a popular character, but in his first appearance, he dies. Like,
yeah.
He kills the Joker. That's it. He's dead. And then they brought him back.
The Joker just straight up murders a whole bunch of people. Like in his first appearance, he just shoots them.
Yeah.
And that is very shocking if you know like old school Batman, like not having much visible violence.
Not only that, but like
yeah.
the Joker is very fucked up by today's standards. Like like the Joker of today, he's got all sorts of really dark humor surrounded by him. But old Joker, like, he had jokes, but he's a man who dresses up like a clown and shoots people. Like, that's scary all by itself.
Yeah, no, it's terrifying, and he looked terrifying in the original art too. Like the
90s Batman series, like the first appearance of the Joker looked kind of like 40s comic Joker, sort of.
Yeah.
Like, if you look at that picture, like, the comic version is more exaggerated, but, like, first appearance 90s Batman Joker kind of reflected that.
So taking all of that into account, we wanted to talk about Tim Burton's Batman, because I would wager to say that without Burton's Batman specifically, we would not have superhero culture as it is today.
Because reversing what I said earlier, the last thing you saw on TV as Batman was the Adam West Show. So now there's going to be a movie, and it is shockingly dark and realistic.
Yeah, Superman had several sequels. It really got really stupid in the 80s. And it really had fallen from grace. In fact, the fourth Superman movie is still considered one of the worst superhero movies
ever. That was Nuclear Man?
Yeah, that's the one made by Canon Films, of all people.
That's when he scoops up all the world's nukes and throws them into the sun.
Yeah, it has the worst special effects in the entire series, and it was made a lot later than the first one. Let me tell you. And by that point, Christopher Reeve...
Well, precisely because it's by Canon Films, though, Canon's motto was just like... I don't remember the exact words of their motto, but it was like basically just make it, get it out, sell it, make another thing.
Yeah, so they... Christopher Reeve by that point had only agreed to do the movie because he wanted the message to be like about world peace.
Well, they certainly did that.
Yeah, but it's
just like in Rocky IV, another 4. They solved the American-Russian conflict with a single boxing match and a speech.
But yeah, the fourth Superman is very hard to watch. And at that point, like, people were expecting them to basically to never have like a decent superhero movie to come out, and basically like Tim Burton had only made like a couple films up until that point.
Like Edward Scissorhands.
No, Edward Scissorhands was after.
That was after
Batman '89. This was 1989. So he had made the Frankenweenie thing for Disney.
Okay.
Which was basically a short, and it's actually on Disney Plus, which is pretty great. Frankenweenie then got expanded to be a stop motion clay film, but the original Frankenweenie was like basically just like a short that he did for Disney. That was really quite good. It was a good send off, to classic horror films, which Burton. Did before it was cool, that kind of thing.
And wasn't if this is 89, Beetlejuice must have come before that, right?
No, Beetlejuice was before it, and
also with Michael Keaton. And
the other movie I was gonna mention was Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Was his first big movie.
Yeah, and that's one of those things where you're like, the Pee-wee's Big Adventure guys can make Batman.
Yeah, exactly.
Although I suppose Pee-wee is wacky and Batman was wacky, so.
Yeah, Beetlejuice is a fantastic movie, by the way. So that's really the first movie that embodies like his style. I mean, like there
Yeah,
are
the crazy twists.
there are certainly nods to it in Beetlejuice Pee-wee's Big Adventure. There's like some of his darker kind of themes poking through, but Beetlejuice is really like, oh, this is a Tim Burton-esque Tim Burton
Bunch
movie.
of crazy stripes and twisty turny things.
Yeah, exactly. The gothic, Art Deco kind of stuff going on. So
Tilted doors and windows, like those 1930s silent German movies.
yeah, German Expressionism
Yes.
is what it's called. So like Nosferatu and
I was thinking the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari.
yeah, I was thinking that too. That was the next one I was going to mention. So he was gigantic fans of those films. In fact, one of the characters in his second Batman movie.
Christopher Walken.
Christopher Walken is named after the
His
director.
name's Max Schreck, who
Yeah.
was he the director? I thought he was the actor who played Nosferatu.
No, you're right.
People.
I was
close. now people think the DreamWorks movie, haha, Shrek the Ogre. But no, Nosferatu, the actor who played him is Max Schreck. So that was Christopher Walken's name in Batman Returns.
Imagine like the kind of knowledge he would have needed to have back then, because like
Yeah, that's a callback too.
Nowadays you can get a copy of Nosferatu no problem. You can even
also
just watch it on
Google it.
fucking YouTube, like no
Yeah.
problem. Imagine like seeking out Nosferatu back then.
You'd have to find a tape or a film or something.
That's what I mean. Like he would need to go to a film library or something in order to watch it. It wasn't like you could easily get that stuff on even on VHS at the time. But anyway, he wanted to make a gothic, Art Deco Batman, kind of based off of like the old 30s and 40s Batman stuff, the noir Batman stuff before it got goofy, and he wanted to bring this brand new aesthetic, like this Art Deco aesthetic that really didn't exist before.
Yeah, because again, for the 100th time, 60s Batman is just like a pleasant looking like neighborhood style city, like that's always in broad daylight. Like Tim Burton's Batman is the Batman that we know today, that like the dark atmosphere carries over even into the latest of the DC movies.
Like the sets that they made on that film really embody like Gotham City. It's dirty, it's grimy, it's crime filled. It looks like it's from the 30s, even though it's clearly present day in terms of technology. Like the settings, even like old chemical factories, factories that
with just
are
open
like,
vats.
Yeah, with open vats and shit is something from the turn of the century at the time. Even
90s, the animated series, like he's still fighting like 1940s gangsters with their
and
hats and their suits.
Kind of have like a very like gangstery aesthetic.
Yeah, what's the big idea? Yeah.
And even Jack Napier, the Joker, as it were, the Joker before he's Joker, just is a straight up like old timey gangster. Like
he's just a scumbag. Like he's like the Joker's scary, but like the opening scene of that movie, that guy's taken out in no time at all. Batman lifts him like way too high up the ground. The guy's just like, Jesus. It's like what the fuck? Like, it's great.
And it's easy to kind of point out the flaws of this film, nowadays, because like we have such we've advanced so much in terms of like like set design and other things like that, but like one of the things that you'll notice is how stiff Batman is in the movie, because they had to make the suit that way because it was the only way that it was possible without making it look cheap.
It took until Christian Bale Batman to turn his head, and the movie directly addresses this. Like, you'll be able to turn your neck, or whatever he said.
And you'll notice that if somebody points it out to you, like we just pointed it out to you. But
at the same time, though, like,
you never noticed it back then, honestly.
Well, you may not have, but at the same time, like, it also gives Batman this air of being different. Like, he doesn't move like a person moves. He turns his whole body when he turns around, which
He has like an uncanny valley thing going on. You know?
Yeah, like in real life, it would make it horribly awkward and like unable to fight properly. But in a movie context, it's got this dramatic like whoa when he turns around. It's like he's like a stage play or something.
Yeah, he's almost like almost robotic in a way. You know, and he also
it's like RoboCop. He just completely pivots. Yeah,
exactly. And but in terms of set design and things like that, like the environment and the themes that the entire environment of the film invoke, it's just masterful. Like I've never seen. I would hardly ever believe that another Batman movie could have a set design that was that intricate, because nowadays they would just CG it, right? But this is just like, you know, like statues everywhere, you know, all these
those
like Atlas statues and stuff like that, you know, like these
they're
gargoyles
huge.
Everywhere in the set design, and like all these German expressionism angles and all this other stuff, like all the way that the buildings like basically have curvature to them, you're looking at them from a weird perspective, like an angular perspective. It's just really fantastic, and they really did a really awesome job, and that's one of the reasons to watch it these days, because there's really nothing like it. And the music by Danny Elfman, goddamn, like
another Tim Burton staple, because he'd work with him again in The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah, well, he was in Pee-wee's Big Adventure as well.
Oh, you're
the music
right.
for
I forgot about that. Yeah.
So he's been working with him ever since then. But yeah, you are correct.
And
like,
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
He did a ton of movies with him. He's done a lot of movies with him. But yeah, it's an amazing movie, and we haven't even gotten to the acting. I mean, like.
Michael Keaton, like, he's a convincing Bruce Wayne, he's a convincing Batman.
Yeah, and, you know, like, a lot of people make fun of I'm Batman because it's iconic, but, like...
That was the first time.
Yeah.
Like, who are you? Like, really I'm Batman. Like, what?
Yeah, you had Kim Basinger as, or Basinger as, is it Basinger or Basinger? It's always...
Well, the Simpsons made that joke. Like, Mrs. Basinger, it's Basinger.
Basinger.
Or maybe it was Basinger.
Yeah. As Vicky Vale, which is Batman's old-timey girlfriend. She hadn't been brought up for a very long time.
Even today, like, Vicky Vale isn't talked about very much.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of Batman's girlfriends, she's absolutely low tier, because she originally was like Lois, the Lois Lane for
Gotham
Bruce
Lois
Wayne.
Lane, yeah.
But you know, Vicky Vale has the alliteration and everything. Certainly she never crops up, because his more interesting girlfriends are like real characters. They're not just his girlfriends. You know, Catwoman. Catwoman is, you know, his and Talia al Ghul in particular. Both of them. Both of them are more interesting characters, because they're both you know, villains of his, if you can call them that.
I still love Talia al Ghul in like Arkham City, where the Joker's like a big villain in Arkham Asylum and Arkham City, and Talia al Ghul's like, wow, I wonder how we could possibly solve this problem. How about you just fucking kill him, and then there's no more Joker? This is the easiest thing I've ever seen in my life. And Batman's like, I can't kill him. He's like, I fucking can. Why can't you? This is the easiest thing.
Well, that's always the joke that's brought up, because like the Joker, like it would be better if Batman killed the Joker. The world would be a better place if he did.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing is, though, like, if Batman let himself do that, then, like, why couldn't he let himself kill someone else, and et cetera, et cetera? But Talia al Ghul does... She works with the League of Assassins. She does not have this problem.
Yeah, no. But I think it's really, really interesting that like they brought all this back, and Bob Kane was even in a cameo in the movie, like a la Stan Lee. He it was actually pretty funny when he shows up.
I never really thought about this, but the Joker's main henchman guy, Bob, was that a nod?
Maybe.
I never thought about that.
Yeah.
That's one of the best scenes in the movie, by the way. Bob Gunn.
But yeah, he's also like very like Jack Nicholson obviously steals the show in this movie, and
yeah, the movie gallery scene. One of them, although one of the more famous scenes I remember seeing parodied. It got famous to that point. Was when he comes out of the vat of chemicals and he's with that doctor guy who's tried to fix him up, and you still don't see his face, but he demands the mirror be brought over, and the doctor like tremblingly gives it to him, and it's not even because he knows who Jack Napier is. He's just like, this is not going to be good.
Yeah,
and he's like bursts into hysterics and shatters the mirror, and you're like, what is this? It's a creepy scene if you've never seen it before.
Oh, absolutely. And he is extremely violent, with his tactics, even though like they're using like toys and things like that. But
I was just going to mention, he does 90s Batman the Animated Series stuff before the animated series. Like, he has a stupid hand buzzer, which is like the dumbest gag ever. Yeah, he turns into like a blackened skeleton. You're like, whoa!
It not only fries him, it like completely melts him. Like
that guy is more than dead. Yeah.
Yeah, he even has
this town needs an enema.
A boxing glove on like one of those springy things that straight up punches the TV out. I mean, like, he has all this stuff.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, like he has that long gun that can take out the Batwing somehow.
You know what I liked about that gun, by the way? Like,
what's that?
He just pulled it out. Like, how did he do that? How do you have that on him?
How do you walk around with that?
Yeah, was it down his pant leg or
it's
what?
Not like it can pivot with your knee. But yeah, anyway.
Where does he get all those wonderful toys?
We could say the same thing about him. But I like...
No kidding.
I like how that kind of almost gives him a Bugs Bunny quality, like he did in the comics. Like, he could just whip out something, like out of nowhere.
One of my favorite examples that I saw like tweeted a while ago, when it was like, this had to have been Silver Age Batman, but it was so stupid. Like, Batman and Robin chase the Joker to some room, and he has a gigantic slot machine. Like, it's like the room.
Yeah. And
he pulls the lever, and he's like, "Whoops, Batman, you won the jackpot!" And these giant coins fall out of it and hit Batman on the head. He's just like, it's like, come on, what is this? How much money did you have to pay to get this stupid... Like, that's not going to kill Batman either. It's just like, like, what are you doing?
I just love that scene with the gun, because it alludes to his his Joker has like ultra universe warping abilities that he only uses in his own stupid way, which is kind of funny, but he does. Like, he has stuff that
gun made.
Yeah, but like,
I want a really long gun so I could comically pull it out, even though he couldn't even see me from the bat plane.
I'm not even convinced that gun existed before he took it out. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, like he has hammer space like Bugs Bunny does.
That is one of those things. Like, where do you, like, he had that insta-kill electric buzzer made, what?
Yeah, exactly. Like,
he got on a TV commercial for that Brand X. He made that happen. How did he do that? He filmed that and put it on TV.
Yeah, and so and it also has a very dark finale too. I have to say.
Yeah, that was surprisingly grim.
Batman gets the shit beat out of him in this movie too, a lot. So
does the Joker, for that
He gets
matter.
his head kicked in quite a bit, especially towards the end of the movie.
He kills people on the way to the Joker. Like, this isn't even one of those technically Batman got that guy killed. Like, he
straight up murders people.
He throws that one guy with the blades down the tower, I think.
Yeah.
And in Batman Returns, there's a guy strapped with dynamite. Batman just kicks him down a sewer, just walks away as the sewer fucking blows up. That guy's dead.
Yeah. So Batman's reticence to kill only really came because of the comics code, and that's the same thing with all of the characters from back then. It's not even just him. It's
even in cartoons we grew up with. You'd only ever fight robots because you can't show that kind of violence on TV. You're not going to show Wolverine slashing a guy to ribbons on a children's cartoon.
Comics having the main character kill somebody and not and it considered to be a heroic deed is a relatively new thing. But yeah, that really didn't come around until indie comics were a thing. But the major comic book houses really didn't have that. And like Spider-Man, you never saw Spider-Man killing anybody. You never saw Superman killing anybody. It wasn't something they did. They brought them to jail.
I don't know if I could even think of an example ever where Spider-Man killed somebody.
Well, Gwen Stacy.
Well, hey, whoopsie doopsie.
Oh, Butterfingers. Yeah.
Jesus. Oof. You certainly showed me.
But that was quick though.
That was slick.
But you need Spider-Man doesn't kill any Batman doesn't kill anybody. Wolverine fucking kills people. But
Wolverine has no problem.
Wolverine will fucking
maybe
kill
when the kids aren't looking, I'll do it. I'm not gonna murder them in front of everybody.
He used to do it off screen a lot, but he used to do it.
It was actually something of a significant moment where he like just killed that one guy in front of everybody in the school invasion in X-Men 2.
Yeah, no,
because everyone else is, the whole thing is it's an academy. Wolverine's too old for that shit, but like everyone else is like, you just killed a guy in front of everybody. Like, yeah, he was attacking me.
He's invading our space.
Wolverine just impales him with both hands, and they're like, whoa.
Yeah, that's part of why that second movie is fantastic.
I do love
really
that. He's
good.
like, so you guys got any beer? And like, the guy's like, are you kidding me? This is a school. He's like, soda.
Why does Wolverine want beer anyway?
He always wants beer.
Yeah, but like, it doesn't affect him. He has ultra healing ability. He's never going to feel the effects of alcohol.
Does it not affect him? I know Captain America, they made a point in the movie. It doesn't affect him.
Yeah,
does it matter in the X-Men? Whatever, who cares?
I'm sure there's an explanation somewhere that it somehow still affects him.
Whatever, yeah.
But
this is one of those things that this is like that Grant Morrison quote. But who fills up the bat tires when it needs filling? Nobody. Fucking nobody fills up the bat tires. It's like the funniest, right?
They actually kind of address. They've had enough time to address those kinds of things. By the way,
I know there's an in-universe explanation for everything, but it's a fucking comic book. Nobody pumps the tires.
It's like Damage Control, like when they made that mini-series where it's just you want to follow the construction company that follows around the superheroes and like
that's legitimate. That's more clever. Like that's less clever for lore and more clever for like a story like that.
Yeah.
Like that one video game, what is it called? Like Viscera Cleanup Duty or whatever?
Yeah.
Where like the hero already beat the game and now you have to clean up like the blood splattered hallways from like Dead Space or something. You're just the guy that does that. Somebody has to do it.
Yeah, somebody has to do it. But this Batman movie was so iconic. They even came out with like a more modern version of the logo, which is now still very prominent version of the Batman logo. The Batmobile is probably the most iconic Batmobile. It's even more iconic than the Adam West one.
The Adam West one was damn good, but that one, like,
with the jet engine on the back.
I was gonna say, like, it's been 20 years. The '89 Batmobile really maintained that look for a while. Even the Christian Bale one, it's a sick mobile and it's practical, but like
it's a military.
It looks like a dune buggy. Even in universe, vehicle. Like they imported it for military purposes and they painted it black.
The Tumbler, as they call it.
The Tumbler.
But the Batman. Like, still to this day, you could play, like, the Batman racing game, like, the Raw Thrills one, the one that's in, the arcade. Like, the one that I think it basically starts you out with it is like, the Batman 89 one. And, of course, the Batman animated series one, takes its design from that. It's a little bit more angular, than, and flat, whereas, the movie one is very curvy. But that version of the Batmobile is just so neat. Like Batman's look and like all of his themes and things that go along with Batman were largely set in stone with this movie. A lot of people don't realize, even the way that the villains interact with Batman, like, he doesn't have stupid villains anymore. They're not like villains that just show up and are goofy, based on a gimmick.
We'll get to that conversation next week probably. We'll get to the Schumacher stuff because those were.
Oh, we're not even getting to
I know
Batman
Returns,
Returns
but like
here.
because those guys were throwbacks to the '60s where they were intentionally wacky.
Yeah, but what I'm just gonna say is that like Batman the Animated Series, which is an extension of this stuff because like it for sure follows in this movie's footsteps. It just like owes so much to all of the production of this movie. It's really, really, really important to Batman's history to watch Batman '89, even though it's not talked about as much anymore. Like a lot of people will say, just watch Batman Begins or whatever. But I
you could do that, but yeah, '89 is iconic. And you know what I will say, by the way, one thing I appreciate is again divorcing from the '60s series is the Joker had goons, but they were just straight up like guys
gangsters?
he picked up. Yeah. They weren't like comically themed gangsters.
Yeah, never had like a gang of clowns. I don't think He never
Because
really
in the
had
'60s
that.
show they would have silly names. I remember the Simpsons parodied that where Krusty calls three henchmen in like who, he, ha, like goofy shit like that. Like you would have seen that in the '60s show, but like no, the Joker just had guys that'll murder you with a gun.
Yeah, like just guys in fedoras and pinstripe
Like the only reason they're not killing you is because he wants to make some weird sick joke first.
Yeah, exactly.
Same thing when he met Bruce Wayne. Have you ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight? Like it's something I've asked all of my prey. I just like the sound of it, and they just fucking shoots him right there. You're like, I didn't think you'd do it.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. But yeah, we should move on to fan stuff since we are getting along in the tooth here. But I want to talk about later on next week all of the merchandising and other things that followed the original film before we even get to Batman Returns because it's important. All that
Batman
stuff.
Returns with the It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia guy.
Really? Oh, yes, definitely.
The main villain.
Yeah, well, one of the main villains. But we'll get
I should probably tell you, my license is expired.
That performance is honestly pretty damn disturbing. It's very effective.
Yeah,
if you go
could
back
be
and
worse.
watch it.
My nose could be gushing blood.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay, comments, we have a few. School Filmer says, my poor wallet. I'm excited that Bayonetta 3 is finally coming out. Also, I've been binging Kitchen Nightmares and Hotel Hell, so I might be in an odd mood. How is the Sebastian's episode both my most and least favorite episode?
See, I don't know that one, but I have been enjoying a lot of Gordon Ramsay lately, just because he's so such a character on his own, and he's a great chef, but like he's so entertaining. I've been watching like TikToks of him like making fun of like things that people make. Yeah, it's really fun. I would probably want to watch that one of these days.
And Living Corpse has a few comments, so I'm just going to pick up 3 of them. I love when I love this one too. I love when Red Letter Media did a review of the last Halloween, like not Halloween Kills, but the Halloween,
the last Halloween movie.
Was it just called?
It's just called Halloween. Yeah.
Yeah. They started off with this 2-minute joke about the name and how it's yet another sequel. Yeah, that opening bit is hysterical. Like Halloween is the sequel. Like Halloween is a follow-up of the Halloween series, but it has nothing to do with Halloween or with Halloween. It connects to Halloween 2, but not Halloween 2 or Halloween 2. And Jamie Lee Curtis is back for the first time, except for Halloween 2, Halloween H2O, and Halloween 2. It's like whoa, like when they really point out how fucked up that series' like title schemes are.
Yeah.
It's whoa. It's amazing. It's
really
the first
just watch the
different
ones
Halloween movie, except for Halloween 3. Like, oh man, it's such a fantastic opening bit. Then he also says, Hellstar Ramina is one of my favorite of Junji Ito's works. Also, you might like the creepypasta, The Quiet Sky, by Ryan Brenneman. Brenneman. It's similar, but different, story that answers the question of why we haven't made contact with aliens. Also, for some real-life cosmic tension, there are big, empty voids in space where very few stars or galaxies exist, or don't exist at all, like the Voots Void. They're getting darker and growing.
Uh-oh.
And one other comment, more horror films and games need to be released in October. It's such low-hanging fruit. It's incredible that they aren't.
I mean, we're in the mood.
like I know if you make a movie you want to release it, but like come on, man. Like the new Halloween movie's coming out in October, and it's like
Perfect.
like duh, yeah.
Yeah.
And for our question, Stranga Games asks, which is better in story, gameplay, and aesthetics, Snatcher or Policenauts? I just got myself a copy of Policenauts for my birthday at the start of September. Happy birthday. Just came in today. Shipping was atrocious. Yeah. I think I picked up mine at a convention. I got mine at a garage sale, which is incredible.
I picked mine up.
That doesn't happen.
Way before it got patched. Yeah, way before that.
Oh yeah, and even if you want to get it, like if you go to a convention and find it, it's probably going to be like $40-$50.
Yeah.
But I got mine at a garage sale, which is like, this guy has Policenauts.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, what? So and I'm eager to play with the English patch via an emulator. That is. Yep. That's how we did it. That's how we let's play it. So. Better in story, that's tough. Gameplay, probably Policenauts, because there's more for you to do. Snatcher is more streamlined in that you only have so many options, so that's for better and for worse. But Policenauts lets you click stuff and see just how much flavor text there is. Because with Snatcher, you go through every option. With Policenauts, you don't realize how many options there are. I can click that. I can click the guy's tie, you know, stuff like that. Aesthetics... that's tougher, especially because there's like 100 versions of Snatcher, so they all have slightly different aesthetic.
Yeah, I was gonna say, here's the thing about Snatcher is that the version that Lotus and I and most Americans have played are the Sega CD version of Snatcher.
Oh, it's just Snatcher. Excuse me, sorry, I was thinking Policenauts. My bad.
In particular, has very beautiful pixel art. And it also has really fantastic color choices, whereas the PC 98 version doesn't look nearly as striking or as good, if you ask me.
Yeah, with the MSX stuff, like it's generally a darker scheme, but they go for more of a moody look, so they make it work. I think the Sega CD though had, I mean, it's obviously an extremely old console by today's standards, but they had more to work with at the time with the Sega CD. And
the music is really fantastic. Overall, I'm gonna say Snatcher is is the better game, but Policenauts has its strengths. Policenauts has better gameplay because like it's not the simplistic shooting gallery that Snatcher has.
Yeah, Snatcher's shooting segments were the bonus stage in Sunset Riders. You had 9 squares. Policenauts was aim somewhere on the screen, like it's a light gun game before light guns. Well, it didn't. It's a light gun game without the light gun. Although I think for the
Saturn version
did have light gun. Yeah, that's the way to play it. But like, just find the enemy and shoot them. Yeah.
But I do have to say that Policenauts has that early '90s OVA aesthetic. If you played like the PlayStation 1 version, that
even on the cover,
very hard not to like, especially if you're from that time period. That OVA, like really flowy, like OVA look, highly animated look is something that is kind of a capsule in time. Like that.
Also, scenes that are actually animated, like it is an anime at some points.
Exactly, and I that has its own charms. So I
pops up in Metal Gear Solid 1 as one of my Japanese animes.
Yeah. In terms of aesthetics, I think I can't say one over the other because they both have a distinct style that is really nice to look at. I really like that. But gameplay, Policenauts all the way. Policenauts also has a lighter storyline.
I mean, Snatchers is more grand in terms of like a big takeover, but Policenauts gets personally very dark.
Yeah, but Snatcher has decapitations all the time in it, and it's very grim.
Snatcher has the visuals, but Policenauts gets fucked up on a personal level. Snatcher does not. It gets fucked up on like I can't believe the plan is as big as it is kind of level. But but the whole thing with Policenauts is like Snatcher is the Blade Runner / Terminator video game, and Policenauts is the Lethal Weapon game, which means that we're dealing with criminals and corruption. Like Snatcher doesn't really have corruption; it has invasion. But Policenauts just allows itself to get more gross in terms of like characters.
Snatcher doesn't have the noir trapping of like, hey, this is something that the government's covering up, or you know, the police are covering up, or anything like that. It's more
like
an invasion of a baddie
Snatcher,
Snatcher.
and Policenauts is noir.
Yeah, exactly.
It even opens with like it doesn't quote this, but it opens with the dame walking into my office. You know, that whole thing.
Exactly.
A mysterious woman who has a problem that I am getting sucked into.
Yeah, I mean, Policenauts is a worthy successor. It's not that it's not a bad game in the slightest. It's actually quite good. I like it a lot. It's just that Snatcher is just iconically one of my favorite games. I just absolutely love it. And but Policenauts is definitely worth your time, and you're going to enjoy it. And you're also going to enjoy all the references to like movies of
the time.
Yeah. I mean, like there's plenty of references to the robot life forms of Alien and stuff like that with the white blood and all that jazz.
Even the very beginning, yes.
Yeah. And also even some like aesthetic references to 2001: Space Odyssey. You know, with the way that I think
it's Kojima's favorite movie.
Yeah, and it's my favorite movie. So it's one of those things. Some of the twists are very on the nose to the point where you think it's probably a red herring because it's too on the nose, but it's just straight up on the nose.
Although depending on your mood, you might even just appreciate that. Like, I just want to fight the bad guy. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Although one little thing I'll shout out, by the way, is you're not going to get this in the newer games, but if you play Metal Gear Solid 1, you may remember on like the logo screens, there's that little jingle that like do.
Oh, I love that, yeah.
We never knew that at the time, but it turns out that there's a full version of that music, and it's the opening theme of Policenauts.
Yeah. I think it's really a shame that Konami hasn't done like a modern collection of the two of them. I don't know why
that would be
haven't.
The most... people who have heard of that will jump on that so fast. No one's going to buy a fucking copy of Snatcher. Are you kidding me? I mean, you can import it from Japan for nothing because it was released on every system. The problem is that it's in Japanese.
Yeah, no, I mean, they should put out a modern, like, English version of it. I mean, they
you know, it'd be great if they did, by the way.
What's that?
I don't know if they would go for it if they did this, but, like, which version of Metal Gear would appear at the end if it was released on like PS4.
That would be pretty funny. But
I doubt they would go that far, but that'd be so funny.
Yeah, because he shows up as like whatever console you're playing it on as.
Yeah, so. It's so stupid, but I love it.
Yeah, I love it too. You'll have a lot of fun with it, and the thing is, like, when it finally came out with like the fan translation, people have been waiting years for this fan translation to be completed. Like, I think they worked something like 10 years on it.
I remember we were when we Let's Played the game years ago. We were using a walkthrough. I was using a walkthrough from, I don't even know if it was GameFAQs, but I found the walkthrough somewhere, and there were some parts of the walkthrough where, like, they misspell the characters' names, or it's like they talk for a little bit and then they laugh, and that's when you have to do the next thing because like it wasn't translated yet.
Yeah.
So they're like, just sit through the cutscenes and here's what you need to do for the gameplay if you just want to reach the end credits.
I mean, a lot of it's been like all the bugs have been worked out pretty damn well, and they've even done the Saturn version at this point, but at the time there was a lot of build up to Policenauts, like as the successor to Snatcher. So naturally, everybody's just like, "Oh, this is gonna be even better," and it's good, but it's not, better. I'm not gonna call it that.
It's very I have more nostalgia for Snatcher, but like they're both fantastic games.
Exactly.
And you at least have a fucking chance of getting a hold of Policenauts, unless you want to get a. Well, I mean, I guess all copies of Policenauts are Japanese, but at least they have a translation. But again, good luck getting an English copy of Snatcher. What makes me so irritated is that I believe the Western version of the TurboGrafx Mini has Snatcher on it, but it's untranslated.
Yeah.
It's like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah. And by the way, that was the first time that the entire game had been completed, by the way.
Like that version of the game?
Yeah, that when it had originally come out on the computer platform that it had come out on, they teased a part 2 that never happened.
The Sega CD version is, like, the West got it, and it's the whole game.
Yeah, actually, that version is unique to the West as well. It's unique to America and PAL territories. I don't think the Sega CD version exists in Japan. So
wow.
Or Mega CD, as it were. So, I mean, we got something special there. And
to be fair, like, you could tell, like the newspaper article in the beginning of the game when it's just a background image has like Jeremy Blaustein's name on it and stuff like that. Like that would make like that couldn't happen in the Japanese version because it was made before that.
100%. So I just kind of wanted to give that its due, but thank you for bringing that up. It's something, of course, me and Lotus love to talk about because we have a lot of history with it.
Yeah, solid games, and we let's play both games. Look them up on my YouTube channel.
Yeah, definitely enjoy it.
You know what I should do at some point is I should go, like, I let's play that game back when my hookups were composite cables. I should see that game again with like the Framemeister. I see it really just prettied up.
Yeah, absolutely. But we should definitely wrap things up here. That is the show for this week. We want to thank all of our fans who contributed questions. Please keep us supplied with awesome topics by submitting questions of your own via the YouTube and Soundcloud pages. We always need more questions, so when you think of one, put it down. While there, please give us thumbs ups, likes, and 5-star ratings on iTunes. Helps promote and spread awareness of the show, and any bit of encouragement helps keep the show going. You can also catch us on Tuesdays on our sister podcast, Corrective Consciousness, the in-depth look at this week in our lives. Finally, you can friend me as vysethebold on pretty much anything. Just give me a heads up.
And you could follow me on my YouTube channel, Lotus Prince. You can hit me up on Twitter at Lotus Prince. And finally, if you are interested in seeing my videos early, getting in on exclusive live streams, selecting upcoming games with me to Let's Play, or getting in conversations with me and other patrons on Discord, then perhaps consider swinging by my Patreon account, which can be found at patreon.com/LotusPrince.
Wonderful. Well, we will talk to everybody again on Tuesday then.
Until next time, everyone.
Bye-bye.